now. But before we get to that, I just want to introduce it with some horrible news out of Israel, because they're reeling in Israel from another deadly terrorist attack in Tel Aviv overnight. A suspected Arab gunman killed 2 people and left 3 others seriously wounded. Authorities claim the shooter had suspected nationalistic motives. Hamas, the terrorist group, of course, that controls Gaza, praised the attack but has not claimed responsibility. Let's catch up now with Australian Jurists Association President Dr. David Adler. David, good to talk to you again. I just want to get your thoughts firstly on that latest terrorist attack. There's been a couple of horrific attacks in Israel in the last week.
There has indeed, Chris. If I could put a little bit of good news in there, in the last few hours we've received confirmation that the terrorist involved in the latest attack, which killed 2 people and injured 8 or 10 in the centre of Tel Aviv, has been tracked down and has been shot and has been killed. So this particular one has been eliminated. But it's been part of a spike in terrorism in Israel in the last 2 weeks, which has seen, I think, 13 people killed, multiple injuries in a range of terrorist attacks across the country. And it's a terrible trend. Unfortunately, the cause of it is not well discussed. So I'll just make 3 items and then we can move on. There is a political incitement from the leadership of the Palestinian Authority and Hamas, celebrating, glorifying terrorism, and this has been increasing. They also pay a reward for those that kill Israeli Jews. The education system for the young kids, the Arabs, is full of hate and incitement. And frankly, although not politically correct, I'll make the observation that we do see a spike around the month of Ramadan, which started a few days ago, and there's a lot of religious inspiration going on. Some of the imams preaching that it's a duty during Ramadan to go out and do these sort of things.
Indeed. Well, let's hope this is not a new trend, because, as you say, that spike in terror attacks has been tragic and a great worry. I want to bring it back to the debate here in Australia. And there's been some worrying elements of anti-Israeli propaganda pop up already in this federal election campaign. 2 of them linked to voices of so-called independent campaigns in our 2 major cities. Now, in the seat of Wentworth, where Allegra Spender is challenging Dave Sharma, a big Jewish population, one of her key supporters, campaign supporters, Blair Palisi, has been revealed as someone who's made a lot of public statements that are very anti-Israel, accusing Israel of killing innocent civilians, of basically running an apartheid system, that sort of thing. And now we've seen similar links with Zoe Daniels' team, some people who are key in her campaign in the seat of Goldstein, again in Melbourne, where there's a large Jewish community in the population. Tell us about your concerns about these people being involved in these campaigns.
Well, it's a particularly ugly aspect of politics that, frankly, we don't need. And who would have thought, Chris, that amongst the sort of green leftist movement, you'd also see a great deal of anti-Israel sentiment and sometimes crossing the line into anti-Semitism. Zoe Daniel herself, the candidate herself in Melbourne, has a track record which we regard as problematic. Well, I'll
just show an element of that, because like many ABC reporters, she's tended to take an anti-Israeli and pro-Palestinian line. We're going to see this excerpt. We'll bring it up in screen where she was writing about Donald Trump moving to recognise Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. And she wrote that he's also satisfying his wealthy Jewish donors who have long been in favour of moving the US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. There's that air of the anti-Jewish conspiracy there, isn't there?
Well, I have to be careful not to label anyone as an anti-Semite, but that particular phrase, which suggests, Jewish power, money, controlling the politics, controlling the world in some way, firstly, it's technically demonstrably incorrect when it comes to Trump's announcement, he confirmed that it was actually the evangelistic Christians that were more active and more influential. But it is a statement very, very close to a classic anti-Semitic trope. And I think the voters of Goldstein, and in particular the Jewish community there, need to ask a question whether someone with that track record, with those sentiments, is indeed a fit and proper person to represent the electorate.
Yeah, well, thanks for drawing our attention to it, and thanks for joining us again, David.
Pleasure.
David Adler there. I think it's unsurprising in many ways that these themes are coming through. I keep telling you that these so-called Voices candidates, independents running against Liberals, are Green left candidates. They pretend to be centrist, but they are Green left candidates. And when you go the hard left in this country and around the Western world, you tend to get an anti-Israel attitude. It's very linked to an anti-US attitude as well. So when you have Green left candidates, you're going to get anti-Israel sentiments coming through, invariably through at least some of the people who support them. Let me get back to the flood situation in New